Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle book review of Monsters, Volume 1 and Volume 2. This is a Marvel Monsterbus of Jack Kirby's work from 1956 to 1964. All the various monster stories that were in Tales of Suspense, Tales to Astonish, and also vast numbers of others, Journey into Mystery as well. So let's just go through it. They're out of print, sadly. I think they go for about 160, 200, whatever. Ridiculous price. Be nice if they reprinted them. I can't see a reason why they shouldn't reprint them, but hopefully they will. Or maybe bring out an epic collection of those. Well, let's just go for it now. Let's just pick up Volume 1. I picked up in a preview run through this before. It's just Volume 2. I kept on picking up Volume 2. No, I want Volume 1 because there's Volume 1. I mean, what a brilliant there. And on the back, see there? Actually, not much. You couldn't tell much there from there. Obviously, there's the spine, the Marvel one. Now, unfortunately, of course, as with all most of the omnibuses, they've always been bashed around. So that is unfortunate. Hefty volumes. Now, 900 odd pages in this one. Brilliant. Obviously, lovely restored. Now, I know not everyone loves that. They would prefer, obviously, in the original colours and everything. But sadly, that's not the way Marvel do it. Now, the stories start 1956, and the first one was in Strange Tales of the Unusual. Not Strange Tales, but Strange Tales of the Unusual. Astonishing World of Fantasy. Now, a lot of these ones, when I first read them, the Kirby ones, they were all in the Alan Class books. I love those. Black and white, though. So in this, it's just great to see them in colour. Now, I've read this book loads and loads of times. I'm just always just picking it up, looking through the stories. They're just great. That's the great thing about this volume, because they're often like 5 pages. So 5 pages, you just sort of think, oh, let's have a quick read of that volume. Wow, I love the stories. So let's just go through them. And they often follow various themes. There's like a monster comes down or something comes down from space. People get confused, fearful, or the monster comes down, wants to rule the world, or wants to take resources, destroy everything, etc. There's loads of different ones. Lots of stories with ants, lots of stories where people time travel and go back to the Roman period or go into the future or whatever and realise suddenly that they can't play the TV that they've taken. You'd think they'd take a Blu-ray player, wouldn't you? That would solve that problem. But still, but they didn't have Blu-ray players back, of course, in 1956. So that's probably why that wasn't included in the story. Or mobile phones. You'd at least be able to show a mobile phone for a bit until you run out of power. And then you've got problems. Afraid to dream. Well, I suppose you could probably rig up some electrical wire. Who knows? But the stories are just great. The artwork is just great. They were always like, so there was often like stories where you'd have aliens that were actually the spacecraft was the alien sort of thing, and no one would see it. They would be walking around, those sort of stories. And of course, they would fly off and wonder why no one had actually noticed anything. The Ninth Wonder. Now, it also includes lots and lots of great covers. Now, I don't think includes all the covers for all the books. So there might be a story that he did, but the cover wasn't by him, so it's not included. So, which is a pity. Would have been nice if they'd include that at the back. All the covers, start the complete of all the issues, but sadly, now, unfortunately, they've just released a brilliant covers book, and I've reviewed that, the Jack Kirby one, Volume 1. And I would have loved them to have brought out the covers again, but obviously in a bigger size. That would have been just brilliant. I know it would be a copy, obviously, of what was in here, but it would have been just great. Also, quite often the stories of people obviously aging there. So there's lots and lots of those ones. There were lots of repeats, sort of concepts that they used again and again. All the ones that people could live forever and would suddenly be left on a lonely earth and realise that they should have gone off, whatever. Those sort of stories. And then you've got things like this, Creatures in the Volcano. Just a great, sometimes the art looks really odd. It doesn't often look like Jack Kirby's because, of course, someone different thinks it, got Christopher Rule there. And it does include all the inkers as well, which is great there. And also letters as well, Art Simic, which is great. I mean, I think it's just great little stories. I was face to face with the creature from Planet X. Now, I think they've had quite a few from Planet X. Planet X must be the most used planet name around. Not Planet XYZ. That would have been really good. Invasion from Outer Space. Some of these covers just are absolutely amazing. They actually near enough look like Journey into the Mystery. Near enough like a Thor cover, that sort of thing, doesn't it? When it's got the atomic brain, the man with the atomic brain. That would have been great cover. Zom. And that's one of the things I think is one of the great things. Often all these wonderful characters that he brought. And also, of course, lots of mutant characters. There was lots of mutant, obviously not the X-Men characters, but similar sort of things that the ideas were obviously moving around in the brain. One of our spacemen is missing. Tales of suspense. One of us is a Martian. Now, I don't know. See, again, some of the covers, of course, would say that, but you wouldn't have a story because, of course, that was done by someone else. And you got here, Stranger in Space. Now, again, that doesn't particularly, when you look at it, look like a cover by Jack Kirby. Obviously, other than that, the buildings look like, but the actual robot doesn't particularly look like Jack Kirby, but it's just the way it's been inked, I guess. Oh, I mean, look at that one. I was trapped by the things on Easter Island. Of course, they did have creatures looking like that for Journey into Mystery, the first issue, 83 of Thor, of course. And you've got others, loads and loads. You've got these lovely robots and things. And you've also got characters that look like certain. Actually, when you're going through this, you quite often see Reed Richards so many times all the way through this book, or Johnny Storm and other characters. You think, oh, or quite often the policeman that he would use. There was like very strong resemblance to some of the characters. You think, oh, those policemen were the same ones that were pointing up in Fantastic Four, issue 1. There they are again. Just also lots of good old genie stories as well, where people get the sort of moral message that you would have with this story. And again, some brilliant art. And only really 5 pages. And also great names like Gorgola, the living gargoyle. And obviously there, feel the might of Gorgola, the living gargoyle. Obviously tells it all, doesn't it? Another genie-like one, Genie in the Bottle story. Did that quite a lot. And Titano, they love those ones as well. Or other the blob-like character there. As we got off into space. And Cyclops. Obviously not that Cyclops. Again, obviously the names, and also characters obviously there. Look at that. Obviously a very sort of like Human Torch sort of character that was early on. But again, I would never turn around and say that's a prototype because, of course, the Human Torch was already around before. I created Spore. Now, some of these characters, of course, turned out to be good guys. Obviously, Grot and all that sort of Groot. I mean, him. Talk about just turn into him straight away. Abominable Snowman. I found the Abominable Snowman. But just great, and a lovely little mummy one there as well. I'll run through of different stories, and the Hulk. See, even another one of these great names. Here Comes the Hulk. And this one, of course, there's a lot of stories where hypnosis, where they zap everyone in the world or something, which I always think is slightly awkward. I don't know how that would work. In the late story, he required some sort of initial sort of ability as well, which sort of baffled a bit, but I don't know. That just, who knows? But anyway, luckily, he hasn't come down to Earth. He isn't an alien villain that sort of wants to rule everything and destroy the planet Earth. And even more creatures there escaping there. But this, obviously, is volume 1, and it's just for old Fing Fang Foom there, I think, isn't it? Good old Fing Fang Foom. And Rumbu. You've got another character there. You've got, of course, lots and lots. I mean, look at the worlds. Jack Kirby was just so amazingly creative, even sometimes was very, another hypnosis story. There's yet another one. Obviously, everyone's been zapped into following this aliens thing. And I suspect there's another one where this creature's going around zapping everyone as well. It's him. And on to the final bits. So let's just quickly go right to the end. Also, there was a Sandman story in this. They have all these covers, which I think are great. But let's say it would have been nice if they'd included all the covers for all the issues that were included. Though they included the ones that he did, but not the ones that he didn't do. That would have been nice. But you got here, look at those Where Monster. They were the ones I purchased. I purchased loads of those, along with the Alan Class ones. I love those ones, these Where Monsters Dwell, Where Creatures Roam. They churned out loads of them. Now, I didn't know at the time, of course, that these were stories from back in the day, 1956, 1957, that sort of period. I think it actually often had it down the bottom. But I would never have seen the actual comics. These comics, not said in my town, they just were not around. I guess they were at comic marts. When I looked through the old adverts in the 70s, quite often they were obviously mentions of those old issues. So they were obviously clearly around. You've got like Beware, Chamber of Chills. I think they're bringing out one soon, aren't they? The Lost Marvels book that should be quite good with all that sort of story. We got Weird Wonder Tales. Just bought that quite a lot as well. I remember that issue. Krang. Now, also, they changed them slightly, the covers as well, so there's always slight variations. But that was that. I don't think they included any black and white. No, they didn't. There was no actual black and white ones. But that was first volume, which I loved. First volume, brilliant. And then there's, volume 2 again. This one's about the same sort of length, about 900 odd pages. follows a very similar format. But this point actually got the Fantastic Four, but it's still amazing productivity. I mean, look at the amount of issues that were being created, as well as the Fantastic Four, Thor, X-Men, etc., etc. And just amazing book. And again, you've got this brilliant there, all the details, monsters there, and on to the next one. Now, the first issue, this one is The Glob, Jack Kirby and Me. 1961. Of course, this was with Dr. Droom as well, some of these ones, The Amazing Adventures. I always feel that probably that one, or The Rawhide, probably was the first, like we could probably say, first Marvel comic. Obviously, everyone argues about that sort of thing. But you got those all the way through. Now, that goes all the way through to Chamber of Darkness. Now, it's a bit of a jump, so I always think it really finished in 1963. So February 1963, Tales of Suspense, because they always had these in the back. Now, unfortunately, when they do the various omnibus editions and Marvel Masterworks, etc., they never include those. So quite often, until this got a case, these stories were never printed. And so it's really nice that they're finally included in these sort of volumes. Now, sadly, of course, there were other stories that were done by other people, Don Heck, etc., who should get a massive one of like these volumes as well. Would be brilliant, because that would collect a lot of those great stories. I guess if you start taking like Don Heck out, Steve Ditko, and obviously Jack Kirby, there are a few others, but that must take a fair percentage of the great ones of the monster period of those stories. But you got Chamber of Darkness. So Chamber of Darkness, that was in 1970, and Fear Shall Follow. Another introduction there, Walt Simonson. And then we were trapped in the Twilight World. So this came out at the same time, approximately, as of course August there, as the Marvel comic one, Fantastic Four, #1. We were trapped in the Twilight World. And sometimes I actually mention that. You've got sort of the fearful world of Fantastic Four or something mentions. And again, you've got Dr. Droom there. You got sort of, again, yet another use of hypnosis there. See the return of Grog. They did occasionally, some of these characters did return. They didn't go forever. They weren't one-off characters. Lots of them were, but there were odd issues where you had another character. Lots of ant stories and things and that sort of, or spiders. So you got obviously referencing the crawling creature. Only I dare battle the crawling creature. There he is. I dared to battle the crawling creature. Great bit of artwork there. And this is, I love the job codes. That would have been nice if they'd given a better list for that. V257, that one. And that's Dick Ayers and Art Simic. You can see there, Kirby and Ayers puts down there, which is great. What Lurks Within, another Doctor's Room story. And more robot stories. And Mumbo. Mumbo is here, Tales to Astonish. Now, a lot of the issues, of course, that were earlier, those weird ones, World of Suspense or Strange Weird Worlds of whatever, they'd all gone by that point. So we were really down to sort of Strange Tales. Zudak, various creatures, the thing that shouldn't exist. Obviously the thing there, but of course the thing had been, at least was, of course. But sometimes when you see these, look at those. I mean, that is often, I mean, that character, I mean, resemblance to someone. I mean, and obviously the old Glob there or whatever, very weird character there. I don't know if he ever gives his own name. I mean, sometimes they don't give name, but I think people just call him something and that's it. Monstero, I doubt, Monsteroso. I doubt if he calls himself Monsteroso. That's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? But it's an alien. The monster is moving. He's alive. I don't think he says anything, but he just wanders through the street. I can never work out the scale sometimes. That doesn't seem right, actually. He looks a bit, his legs must be very small, but his legs are quite small, I think, there. And you've got just over and over again, just brilliant little stories where everyone's running in fear from all these various creatures that seem to want to take over the world. Why? The Spider Strikes. I love that one. Journey into Mystery. The Spider Strikes. Now, that was issue 73. So that was 10 issues before, of course, Thor turned up. And, oh, God, another story. Hypnotised slaves, obviously zapping them through the TV set. How strange that. The TV set is used to, and there's a few stories where there's alien invasions, all observed on TV. So, of course, TV was a big thing. It's a big thing now. But you got the stories there. And, more alien creatures. Monsters. And, of course, you got also sometimes you have these sort of stories as well. Beware the ticking clock. And I guess that's someone obviously getting slightly older there. Maybe that's the story about thing. But he walks through walls. That's an unusual one. That's a bit different. The artworks. Sometimes, again, that's one of the things when you look at some of the artwork, you think, doesn't look exactly like Kirby's stamp. I don't know. It's very odd. Mr. Gregory and the Ghost. So they did have some variation. So that even though it's called Monsterbus, not all the stories are monsters. So there are, the man in the anthill. Of course, at this point, it was just could have been a one-off. Obviously, was not, but there's no rhyme or reason why they would bring him back, I guess. So at this point, someone save me, somebody, obviously been dragged. And of course, at the end, he throws it away. So we assume that that's it. But he's not called that man at that point. But he comes back. Of course. But you've got lots of characters. Sometimes there's ones like the man in the beehive or something, those sort of ones. And he could have been a hero. He could have been one of the greats. The man who shrunk the world. He could have been a star, couldn't he? Maybe not with that costume, though. That probably wouldn't have helped. The man who shrunk the world. What a waste of time that would be. But the genie with the light brown. That's an odd title. But anyway, I guess we can say that that's just another genie story. There's lots and lots of genie ones. It Crawls by Night. They love those stories where you would have this sort of creature with very small at start and then it grow and grow and grow and grow. And of course it would starve itself of something or whatever, or something would cause it to shrink back and no one would know at that point. But the thing that crawled by night. Why was it called The Thing That Crawled by Night there? It crawls by night. Slight change there. And you've got a gorilla there as well. The Gorilla Man. Gorillas, of course, were very popular. There is coming soon a DC one, a Gorilla World one. I think that should be good. I'm definitely getting that one. I don't believe in ghosts, so you can see that it's not all monsters. I mean, maybe less ghosts are included in that list as well, I guess. That's always trouble, isn't it? And you also got various aliens coming down. Of course, many of these aliens could have been sort of used characters that turned up in things like the Hulk or whatever, and various Fantastic Four stories later, I guess. It's possible. On the Trails of the Witch. It's another story that obviously doesn't exactly match the monster sort of thing. It's still really good. Save Me from the Weed. That's an interesting story, isn't it? Very odd. Yeah, another one I'm quite certain probably is not going to be using hypnosis again, is it? Yes, I have intelligence. I can think. I have power. Oh, right. Okay. But I can control living creatures. And that's a name and a half, isn't it? Kragoom, the creature who caught an astronaut. The Sorcerer, that's quite good. We felt that was Loki. Don't know why, it probably wasn't, but sort of like a Doctor Strange, sort of possible, can black magic exist in today's world? Obviously, with Doctor Strange, we found out that yes. But I mean, something look at that one. That definitely looks like some characters from the Marvel comics that we know and love. And Return of Gorilla Man. So there was an opportunity there for Gorilla Man to become a character, but there was, of course, Gorilla character in the DC one. But more very unusual characters there. He's bashing through. Again, some of these characters could have easily walked out of some of the Spider-Man stories. There were lots of these sort of creatures that were super powerful, or maybe against Giant Man or something, I guess. Always possible. Ooh, now the moon has turned into a face. The world's gone mad. Very true. And that was obviously another genie story. Won't You Step Into My Parlour by Lee and Ditko. Obviously the covers there, Lee and Ditko. Won't You Step Into My Parlour there? And that one's Kirby. Oh, the other story was that. I love this one. This is a sort of, is that a mutant one? Yeah, it's a mutant-like story, isn't it? Again, the characters quite often end up looking like characters that we're very familiar with, even with, I love the ones where the jumpers they always had with like S's or whatever, obviously with and another's the Dead Storage. What happened in the Dead Storage? He is the most important person you will ever meet. His name is etc. etc. And you got there Dead Storage. Tales to Astonish number 33. So at this point, obviously, a couple more issues, and we've got Ant-Man finally. I don't know if the Ant-Man story's in here. Yes. Oh no, we've got the Man in the Beehive instead. Now they were pondering maybe to have a character of the Beehive, Bee-Man. Could have had Bee-Man, couldn't they? Bee-Man, they could have had loads of different characters. Insect Man or whatever. There's loads of other insects. I just can't think of any offhand. Flyman, although he already existed, of course, they couldn't use that one. Probably Bee-Man might have existed already. Maybe not. Monster at My Window. I always love that one. That's great. Look at that. And also, next door to it, that's just brilliant, isn't it? Just lovely. Monster at My Window. Love it. It's true there as well. And yet, obviously, in the splash, there's no text at all. So it's slightly better than the cover, maybe, in that respect. Just glorious. Though I'm not saying what he was hanging on to. It doesn't look like he's. I suppose he was just gripping very strongly into the stonework there. And just story after story, a classic one. Strange Tales, issue 100. Now, of course, the next issue was 101. Was, of course, the Human Torch first appearance in obviously his own series. Obviously, appeared in Fantastic Four already. The Man in the Crazy Maze. They love those ones. The Man in or The Man in the Beehive. The Man in the Anthill. The Man in a popular sort of theme that I was trapped in a crazy maze. And onto something that looks a bit like the, I was going to say maybe the Cosmic Cube kind of thing, but it's not. It's using some prisms to create duplicate Earths. Another theme that, of course, was used later, high evolutionary, etc. The Forbidden World. Great little story there. Spacecraft and very lovely one. I don't know what that's about at that point. I am Zaxor, and that's it. Let's go through to the final issue, and that's the Chamber one. Let's see. Well, maybe that one was. Oh no, you can definitely see the difference. Look at that. Definitely, that's obviously late sort of 70, late 60s artwork. Jack Kirby, just brilliant. So Chamber of Darkness, that one, and then on to. Let's just turn that page there. We got this time. We've at least got some of these pages, which is just great. I love the good old ink page. I don't know if maybe there were a few in this as well. I didn't see any. I don't think there were any in that. Didn't see any at all, but well, there was a few bits and pieces, a letter or two. Oh yes, there was. I said earlier that it wasn't, but there were some ink pages. Just thought that was slightly odd that they wouldn't be. Ruler of Earth. Yes, obviously a robot there. The Colossus, obviously in this case, but it's not obviously the film I'm thinking about. Love that film. That one's the ruler of the world. The man in obviously there, Doctor Doom. Obviously isn't, but Monster in the Iron Mask. The Ghost Road, a roller coaster. Classic stuff, suspense. Brilliant one there. And then onto, again, we've got some lovely covers and things. Obviously some variations there, Mike Mignola and others. Do they have the other smaller covers? I probably can't find them. No, doesn't look like it. But that's it. Run through of these 2 brilliant volumes. Ooh, they are really quite hefty. Put them together. There definitely should be an epic collection. I would think it'd be brilliant to see those because, of course, I say these ones are probably quite hard to find now. So it would be nice to get something like that, bring them out, or just, of course, reprinting them, of course, as well as bringing out ones for other ones. Obviously, Don Heck would be nice. A Gene Colan one be brilliant. John Buscema, loads of those. There's loads of. Would be really nice to see him in a massive omnibus edition. But that's it. Run through of that superb set. I say probably one of the sets that I pick up near enough every couple of weeks, and I will sit down and just read through those stories because some of them are just brilliant. So I don't think I've read every single story. There are probably a few stories in there that I have skipped over, though I probably have read them. I'm quite certain I've read every single Jack Kirby over the years because they were, let's say, in the Alan Class books, they were all over the place. You often see them in the annuals as well. You'd obviously see some of the stories as well. So I was very, very familiar with those, even though I didn't have access to the originals. So, and also, of course, the reprints that they did in the 70s, which I loved as well. But it's great to see them, of course, in the massive, oversized, wonderful monster omnibus ones there. Have you got them? Have you bought them? Will you ever try and get them? Will you be interested if they brought out an epic collection of them? Would you get that instead? Be really great to know in the comments below. Also, a like or dislike, always appreciated. Also, please subscribe to the channel. If you're not a member of the channel, be great. Also, bye. Have a great weekend.